let me feel the ESC. There's no fan on this ESC. I want to see, oh gosh, it's come loose. My son and I, we have owned these Arrma Typhons now for about 2 years. We've been extremely rough with them. We've had a whole lot of fun with them. And it's time for us to share our experience, just in case you're thinking of picking one of these up for yourself. So here we go. So let's first talk about 6S power, because that is one of the enticing things about these Arrma vehicles, is that that 6S promise of power, those super ballistic speeds. Well, I can tell you that we primarily run these on 4S, and they are plenty of fun on 4S power. The 6S, it's pretty much unusable. If you're racing around a dirt track with jumps and corners and loose gravel, you're not going to be able to put that extra power down. Even on asphalt, concrete, smooth surfaces, that 6S power, it's mainly for top speed, straight line speed runs. But for anything that involves some cornering, 4S is plenty of power and plenty of fun. Now, one limiting factor when it comes to 6S power is always going to be your tires. With that extra speed from 6S, these tires, any tires really, unless you have some sort of a steel belted or specially made tire, any of the basic buggy tires, they're really going to turn into pizza cutters. They're going to kind of pancake out because of the forces, and you're going to shred the rubber, or at the least the foam inside, it's going to break apart and make your tires all lumpy. Then even at moderate speeds, you're going to notice that your car is vibrating like this, and that's because your tires are out of balance, or the foam is all lumped up, or maybe you even have a tear in the rubber. And as you know, if you've been in this hobby for any length of time, a pair of tires and rims is about $25 to $30, so you want to make them last. Now overall, we've had great experience with these cars in terms of durability. Very, very few things have broken. We're going to get to some of that in just a moment, but let's start with the front of the car. When I purchased this Typhon 2 years ago, the same day that I purchased the car, I purchased extra arms and extra drive shafts and a few other plastic bits and pieces that were well known to break on my other types of vehicles. Well, those Arrma pieces, they are still in their bags. I have not had to pull them out. I've not had to replace much of anything on this car. These are still the original arms, original drive shafts. Everything in this camera view right here is original, aside from the tires, of course. Now, there are a couple maintenance things that you want to be wary of. So I'm going to pop this tire off. I had this just finger loose because I knew I wanted to show you this pillow ball suspension setup. So part of what makes this Arrma car so strong is the suspension setup. They have these big metal balls in here, inside these big plastic heavy-duty sockets. I mean, look at that steering block. That is meaty. That is one tough mechanism. But what I really want to show you is these nuts here. These nuts, you have to watch them because they do tend to loosen up after a couple of runs, and if these nuts get too loose, then you'll get too much slop. See, there's a little bit of slop right now, but if those nuts come loose, you're going to get too much slop around these sockets and balls, and that's going to affect your handling. But more importantly, what could actually happen is the drive shaft, it could actually pop out of the cup, and as it's kind of popping out, it could really kind of grind up that diff cup. Now, this is very easy. This is a very easy problem to avoid. Just every 2 or 3 runs, just pop your tires off and monitor these nuts. Make sure that they are tight, but not too tight. You still want the balls to be able to pivot freely in there. But yeah, monitor those nuts, and then that way you're going to avoid any problems with your axles and your diff cups. All right, let's peel this lid off, and actually, before we take the body off, this is the original body. Not too bad. Nice things about the buggy design is that most of the other parts of the car, actually I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but the impact points when the buggy is rolling over are usually like the tops of the tires, the shock tower, and the rear wing. So the body usually doesn't make too much contact with the surfaces you're racing on. Now, if we take a look at this body, the paint looks pretty good after 2 years, but a closer inspection of the rear shows that the plastic is really kind of cracking up and disintegrating. The body post holes are really close to the back of the Lexan there, and there's not a lot of plastic there to keep it together. Now, this is a cool design. I'm really surprised that these are still attached, these little elastics that keep these clips on. So yeah, this is probably the original R pin. I don't think I've slid new ones on here. But nice design. Probably saved me a couple bucks over the 2 years and not having to replace R pins. Alright, so let's get this lid off and take a look at what's going on inside. Alright, so right off the bat you'll notice that the ESC does not look like it's supposed to, and that is because the plastic shroud and the fan broke off after some heavy jumps. And unfortunately, Arrma and Horizon Hobby, which is the company that now owns Arrma, they do not just sell the plastic cover. So either I have to make something or I have to buy a new ESC, and you know, it really needs a fan. With the warm summer months coming, I'm really going to need to keep this ESC cool. I could do short 4S runs, but you know, I tried that the other day, and it was getting quite hot just on 4S parking lot runs. So got to keep this thing nice and cool and either replace it or find and create some sort of fan setup. So that's one thing that has failed on my Arrma car in the 2 years that I've owned it. If you have a sharp eye, you might notice that this is not the original servo. The original servo is still working fine, but I happen to have this servo laying around from some other applications, so I decided to pop it in here. It's a little bit faster than my other one, so I'm giving it a try. In terms of the internal plastics, everything is held up well. Nothing's broken, nothing damaged, original Velcro. Battery clips, no issues. Probably the part that is showing the most wear, that is ready to be replaced, is the centered diff cup here. Take a look at that. Look at that pin. That is really worn down about halfway. Time for replacement, you know, but lasted 2 years. Pretty good for that. The original motor, no problems there, still running nice and strong. Chassis support braces, front and back. No cracks. Oh wait, actually, look at that. I just discovered something. It looks like it is cracked on the front mount there, isn't it? So that is something that is going to need to be replaced. How about that? Okay. And then moving on to the back, the back chassis brace is looking good. The rear arms, no problems. No problems on this side. This is the original wing. Some damage there. Let's see, other side. Still pretty good. You know, keep in mind the wing takes a lot of impact whenever the buggy's cartwheeling, crashing. The wing is almost, think of it like a bumper for the car. So it is something that you just have to kind of plan on replacing over time. And what does the bottom of this thing look like? I bet it looks pretty horrific. Yep. Looks like a used buggy. So yeah, I mean, this used to be black. That's the color that it used to be. I did purchase these aftermarket skid plates, and well, it's almost a joke. You know, it's supposed to help with this, but what it really does, it kind of helps protect the butt of the car, and I think it does a good job with that. Now, it's pretty hard to avoid these scratches. I mean, maybe if you're running only on like a carpeted surface or something like that, your buggy's going to get scratched up. But if you buy these cars to really enjoy them, which means take them outside and bash them half to death, it's not going to be long before your chassis, unfortunately, looks a lot like that. What I love about the Typhon, look at these meaty arms. I mean, when this car first came out, I was looking at these arms, and having owned a lot of other brands of cars with little skinny plastic arms that would break every single time I took them out, this really caught my attention because I thought to myself, that is something that is going to be hard to break. And look at the monster plastic on the back. That is some thick plastic that is going to hold up well, and it certainly has. Like I said, we have not replaced any arms on either of these Typhons in 2 years. That's incredible. Alright, here's my son's car. I'm going to pop the lid off real quick, and I'm going to show that really the only issue we've had with his car is similar to the issue I've had with mine, where the ESC, in his case, the shroud is still intact. The fan broke inside. I mean, that is not uncommon at all. The fans are pretty delicate, and well, the fan broke, so we popped the shroud off and removed the fan, and are waiting for a replacement. So all in all, with my son's Typhon, after 2 years, the only thing that he has had to replace on this thing is the tires, which is kind of to be expected, and we're going to need a new fan. And aside from that, let's see what's going on here. It looks like something's out of whack. I think it's just the shock boot is out of place. Or not a shock boot, but I think it's called like a shoe or something. Alright, that's better. And the front end definitely needs some maintenance work. It looks like we got to clean this out so that we get a little bit better rebound with that suspension. But yeah, 2 years, guys. Haven't replaced anything, and trust me, and we are rough. There's an outdoor track near our house, there's an indoor clay track, and then we have our various bashing locations. And we've smashed this thing into cement curbs even. I mean, not at 50 miles an hour, but at moderate speed, and it survived. So, $10 ESC fan. On mine, probably time for a new ESC, or if I wanted to go the cheap way, I could just, like I said, having to rig up a system to hook a fan up to it, and it'd be running fine. So there you have it, guys. I hope I've answered some questions and dispelled some of the mysteries of these cars. We've owned them for 2 years. We've had great experience. I can't think of any reason why you would not want to buy this car if you're in the market for a buggy. So much fun, super durable. Obviously, there's a lot of different buggies on the market, and their purposes are slightly different. You know, some are designed to be a bit more tunable for racing, and I mean, if you're talking about being a serious track racer, you might want to go that route. But if you're looking for a buggy for bashing with 4S power, 1/8 scale, I mean, you can't go wrong with this at this price point and with this kind of parts support and availability at local hobby shops and online stores. So, Arrma Typhon 6S, check them out. You'll have a whole lot of fun with them. Alright, let me feel this ESC. There's no fan on this ESC. I want to see, oh gosh, it's come loose. Well, yeah, it's pretty hot. I could touch it for a few seconds, but it's hot enough that I think it kind of made the double-sided tape on the bottom come unglued. So now this is kind of flopping around in there.